When it comes to mountains in northern Vietnam, familiar names like Sapa or Hà Giang usually come to mind. But there's a place tucked away in the northwest, less developed, much more low-key, yet still preserving its stunning, pristine mountain landscape. That place is called Ta Xua, and it will be our destination for the next 3 days as we take a peaceful escape from the noise of the city. Starting my trip from Hanoi. It's already raining here, and I expect it will be raining in Ta Xua too, since we're still under the effects of a bão nhiệt đới tropical storm. It's not the most ideal weather for traveling, but I'm still pretty excited. I originally planned this trip several months ago, but the date had to be moved twice for all kinds of reasons. So well, quá tam ba bận, third time's a charm. The journey took about 4.5 hours, and it was not a smooth ride at all. The road was bumpy, muddy, and slippery. We stopped by a chap dừng chân after about 2/3 of the distance. And the moment I stepped out of the car, I could feel the fresh, damp air filling my lungs, and the tension in my body slowly easing away. And look, there's a dog chilling. Just a heads up, this trip's gonna have rất nhiều chó, lots of dogs. Finally arrived at the homestay. As I expected, it's raining pretty heavily. We were supposed to see lots of majestic mountains and valleys from here, but the fog has completely covered the view. It's just white as far as the eye can see. Only now did one of my friends say that she's actually really nặng vía. It means that she has some kind of heavy energy that tends to bring rain wherever she goes. Our last trip was also delayed because of a storm, so I guess it's true. And nothing we can do about it, and it's already past lunchtime, so let's get some food into my empty stomach. Just to brag a little, this time I brought a chef friend with me. So I'm relying on him 100% when it comes to eating. And this means that the whole food experience on this trip will be curated by a head chef. So yes, I'm just excited as you are. Here's our first meal of the day. As you can see, this is exactly what a typical family-style meal from Hanoi looks like. We have a veggie dish, rau cải ngọt luộc, a meat dish, thịt ba chỉ cháy cạnh, and also trứng rán, canh cải ngọt. And my favorite, đậu rán sốt cà chua. They're actually all the dishes that I grew up with, but look fancier than the ones at home. After lunch, we rested for a while and head for our first spot, Ta Xua. For most of the drive, all I could see was fog, which was quite discouraging. But the more we went, the more the sky started to clear up. And by the time we were close, surprisingly, I saw some clouds. The entrance looked like a regular cafe with cozy wooden deco style. After walking past this cafe, I reached the grassland. My first thought was, this was clearly a popular spot. You can see how crowded it was despite the unpredictable weather. Most people are here to săn mây, cloud hunting. It's a trend that has become super popular among young travelers recently. There's a few local kids selling flowers to visitors, but honestly, they spend more time playing and running around without a care in the world. This grassland overlooked endless layers of mountains and a vast sea of clouds. The weather was changing so fast. It rained, then stopped, then rained again, and then cleared up over and over. Time for some adventure. I spotted a mysterious-looking hàng rào kẽm gai stretching quietly across the hillside. Almost as if pulled by some invisible force, I began to follow it. What secret could it be guarding? Unfortunately, it led straight toward a cliff, which looked far too dangerous, so I had to give up halfway. I just sat down and took a break instead. Oddly enough, right at that moment, something magical happened. Above my head, the sky opened like an eye. Sunlight pierced through the clouds, revealing a whole symphony of nature before my eyes. Núi, sông, mây, trời, all merging into one breathtaking canvas. The scene felt almost unreal, and for a moment, I felt like I was standing in heaven. Quả là trong cái rủi có cái may. Every cloud has a silver lining. If I hadn't followed that random fence that no one noticed, I wouldn't have ended up in this very spot witnessing nature's masterpiece. Oh, but if you come here, watch out for the thorny bushes. Me and my friends got all of this stuck on our pants and shoes, and it took us almost half an hour to get them all out. It was getting dark, so we decided to call it a day and went for dinner. We stepped into an outdoor restaurant on the edge of a cliff. Tiệm nướng cánh cam. Everything around me was swallowed by fog. I could only see darkness and a few faint lights from the town far below. The wind is very strong. The yard at the entrance looked quite dreamy in a surreal way, like in a cổ tích fairy tale. It's pretty crowded and noisy here. There was live music, and the band played a whole series of iconic Vietnamese karaoke songs. It was nice, but I wish it weren't this loud. It's a bit overwhelming. Anyway, the atmosphere was lively, and everyone seemed to be having fun. Maybe a little too much fun. Most people were having thịt nướng, but we ordered lẩu. There were only the basic toppings like beef, vegetables, and mushrooms, but there was also something more special. Gà ác, silky chicken. Dinner in the mountains should have been cold, but the steaming pot and the random silly conversations with friends made it felt rather warm. And just like that, our day one ended perfectly. We expected day 2 to be sunnier, but nope, it was still gloomy as hell. So we decided to just stay in the homestay and take the morning slow. This place is quite nice, I think. The wooden decor gives the interior a cozy vibe. It is not even the middle of November yet, but there are already some Maria Carey defrosting situation happening here. The homestay was just built earlier this year, so everything is still pretty new and in good condition. According to our driver, this is the most luxurious place in this area. I didn't know, and honestly, I wouldn't even care, because you know what? I gotta stay here for free, all free, thanks to my chef friend again. Cảm ơn nha! We started our day with a simple breakfast, mì tôm trứng xúc xích. This is something I always had in my high school cafeteria, but without this side dish. For those who don't know, this is called rau sống, and it's a very common side dish for noodle soups in Vietnam. And after this, we had some hot drinks, ca cao nóng and trà quế táo đỏ, perfect for this weather. If you haven't noticed, this homestay has a really cute dog with a funny tails that looks like a voice saying, or you could say a choy. This morning, I caught him doing this, just sitting quietly in the rain, alone, staring off into the faraway land. He didn't even react when I came closer. As I heard from one of the staff, he almost died last year from a car crash, but somehow miraculously survived. I think it still traumatizes him to this day. I could see in him an inexplicable sadness that I can't quite describe. I sat with him, cold, desolate. The thick blanket of mist isolated us from the rest of the world. In that moment, in the lonely quietness, I felt a strange connection to him. And that's all for the morning. Lunch today was also a family-style meal, but with some dishes that felt more unique to the mountain regions. For example, this soy tím lá ngậm. I don't think I have ever tried this before. But to be fair, it didn't taste much different from the regular sticky rice. It just looked very cool. Or this dish, thịt rang lá mắc mật. I mistook it for another leaves, but anyway, I love its smell and I ate a lot of it. Then I washed everything down with a soothing bowl of canh chua nấu thịt. Delicious. There are many famous and beautiful spots in Ta Xua, like rừng rêu, sống lưng khủng long, mỏm cá heo. But it kept raining, so we couldn't go anywhere. Luckily, the staff recommended a nearby tea tasting spot where they dye their own tea leaves, which sounded pretty fascinating, so we decided to stop by. Far from my expectation of a trendy, Instagrammable spot, this place looked surprisingly humble. It's quite old and simple, even a bit worn out, at least from what I could see from the outside. There were no signs of people when we arrived. For a moment, I thought it had shut down, until a staff member appeared and welcomed us in. Some playful signs immediately caught my eyes. There was Share Om. This is supposed to be Say Om, the motorbike taxi, but they wrote it as Share Om, so it literally means sharing hug. Or this one, khăn của khách và người yêu cũ cố tình để lại, xin đừng lấy. That is so adorable. The owner must be an interesting person. The indoor space was a cozy vintage Thư Viện library. This is where people read, sip tea, and share warm conversations by the wood fire stove. This place seemed to hold countless memories. Every piece of decor felt personal. If you were here during one of their tea workshops, we'll be able to experience the traditional wood-fired pan roasting method. It's called sao trà bằng chảo củi truyền thống. The rain draped the whole scene in a quiet, slightly melancholic calm, as if everything has slipped into a gentle slumber. The only sound was a distant wind chime, carrying a strangely nostalgic feel. I chose a spot by the window ledge. Our drink was trà quýt tangerine tea. I made a small mistake here. I poured the tea out right away when I should have waited for the tangerine slices to open up and seep their flavor into the water. That's why my tea tasted a little bit bland, but it was still nice. I wrapped my hands around the steaming cup, letting its warmth sink in like a soft embrace. When we stepped outside, another sea of clouds was waiting for us. Funny how I never actually go looking for them, yet they always show up. We came back to the homestay and had a warm tiệc nướng. What made it special was that we did everything together, from preparing the food to grilling it over charcoal fire to setting up the table. In the rain, it was a perfect occasion for us old friends to recall some ký ức memories. After dinner, we decided to call it a day. We didn't do much today, but it was all we could manage with this weather. I guess we just aren't có duyên, meant to be with Ta Xua on sunny days, and with that thought in mind, I went to bed without worrying about what tomorrow would bring. Waking up suddenly, I couldn't believe in my eyes. The rain that felt endless was finally gone. For the first time on this trip, I saw sunlight. The homestay looks like a totally different place. The view around me was no longer drowned in that pale, lonely whiteness. Instead, morning sunlight bathed the green mountains and forests in a warm golden glow. Everything felt much more alive, with people already getting on with their days. Without a second thought, I decided to make the most of this last chance and finally explore outside the homestay for once. On the way down the slope, I passed some ethnic minority locals working and chatting. I stopped and listened to the conversation. Though they are Vietnamese, I couldn't understand a single word they say. If you didn't know, Vietnam is home to over 110 recognized dialects and languages, so what they were speaking was basically a completely foreign language to me. We stopped at the first cafe we saw along the way, and of course I was welcomed by, you guess it, some dogs. Yay! This cafe had a small yard that looked straight over the mountain scenery below. It was also a cafe homestay, similar to the one I was staying at, but smaller and less fancy. As I had breakfast with a view of the stunning mountains, it hit me that it was my last morning here. After 2 days of fog and rain, I still got to experience this final morning in warm sunlight. I felt lucky to have seen Ta Xua in 2 very different moods. Looking back, this trip didn't go as planned at all. But in the end, what matters most is spending time with the people we love. I still feel great about this escape, getting to temporarily step away from the pollution and stressful city life. Maybe one day, my heart will suddenly remember the sense of isolation I felt here, and I would yearn to come back. For now, tạm biệt Ta Xua, and thank you for being kind to me.